And I hear my parents come into the house, and my dad is crying his eyes out, like screaming. And I've never heard my dad cry, like ever. And I was like, dang, I wonder what's going on here. So my mom, she sits me down, and my aunt's there, and she's like, hey, your sister passed away. And I was like, okay, but how? And she was like, well, she hung herself. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, that doesn't sound about right. Like, because that sister in particular, she was the only sister who, like, showed up and, like, kind of cared. So I was like, she wouldn't do that. Like, there's no way. And my parents were like, yeah, it happened. And I think after that day, I was still young at the time, so I guess it was just hard for me to, like, fathom. I was just like, yeah, like, my sister's dead. Like, okay. But I think as time went on, I was just like, she actually is gone. I'm Joy Wells, and I used to suffer from severe anxiety and depression.
Joy, thanks for coming in.
Course.
Tell me about that. When did that first start for you?
I think mainly it first started, maybe going all the way back to high school. So my 14th birthday, no, my 15th birthday, my sister committed suicide when I was in high school, and it was going into my freshman year. But I never really addressed it, and I never really knew what mental health was at the time, especially in my family. Like, my dad's a preacher, my mom's a preacher, so that was definitely out of the ordinary when that happened. And then I guess it really didn't go into effect until I left my parents' house, like when I left the covering, because like my parents prayed over me, they taught me the Bible, they did everything. But when I came here, I was like no longer under that covering. So when I got here, I think that's when it like actually hit, and I was just like, wow, like this is kind of crazy that like my sister's not here. I'm battling things like on the track, grades were falling, like everything was just like really bad at the time. And I was like, let me just go tell my parents. So my parents, obviously, they helped me during that time. And my mom was like, let's take her to the doctor. So I go to the doctor, and I take this like little test on paper, and it's just like put an X on like rate this on a scale of 1 to 10. So I like did all of it, and then after they're like, yeah, like you just have like a mild case of depression and maybe a little bit of anxiety, but we have some medicine for you that will help. And I was like, well, yeah, like give me the medicine. Maybe it'll make me feel better. So got on that the end of my freshman year, and I was on it from my freshman year all the way to the very end of my sophomore year. So almost like a full year, maybe a little bit of my junior. But at the end of my sophomore year, like it was like December area, so almost a full year me being on that. Um, I was laying with my friends, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I had a really bad anxiety attack, and it just kept going. And like I was basically like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was seeing stuff, I was hearing stuff, like everything was like going berserk in my head. So I called my mom, and my mom's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be here. I hate school. I hate track. And it was crazy for me to say that because I literally been running track my whole life. This is like my dream, my full dream. And as soon as I got here, everything started crumbling down. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? I was like, well, I could just run away. I could just like leave. I could just like stop, and I could just go back home. But then I met my fiance, and he was such a light in my life and everything. Then my mom also came, and the second time I had another anxiety attack. Again, I was actually with him, but this time it was the one that really did it for me. It was December, the last day of finals, and I was laying down taking a nap at his house, and I just like started hearing all these horrible things like in my mind that was just like, you don't really need to be here right now. Like, it's really not worth it. Like, you already don't like it here, so why would you stay here? So the voice in my head started to get like super loud, and I was just like, what is going on here? So I started believing it, and I was like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. And I was on this medicine, not to mention I increased my medicine intake because I was like, guys, I still feel sad. Like, guys, I still feel anxious. Guys, like, I'm still doing bad at practice. Like, I was around so many different people, like so many lights in my life, but nobody, basically, their light wasn't like bouncing off of me. Every time they would do something, I'd just be like, eh. So this last time I took some more Lexapro that night, and I was like, I'll just take a little bit more. Maybe it'll help. And little did I know that basically I was just going to be up tossing and turning all night, just basically thinking of everything I ever done wrong in my life and everything that I didn't need and deserve, to the point where I was just like, maybe I should take my own life. Like, maybe that's something I should do. Like, I think that's true. Like, maybe I should do that because, like, my sister did it. I don't know where she is. Maybe that'll help. So I called my mom though, because I told her, I was like, hey, I'm really scared right now. I did a lot of bad things since I've been here. I was doing like a whole bunch of bad things, and I was like, at this point, how worse could it get? So called my mom. My mom prays over me, and she's like, the truth will always set you free, Joy. That's like that little simple phrase, and I bawled my eyes out. I think it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I call my coaches, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, guys, I did XYZ. I'm having an anxiety attack. I can't breathe. I want to go home. I don't want to be here. I don't know what to do. So after my coaches and my mom called me down and my fiance, I ended up singing a worship song to help me go to sleep. And I ended up getting a few hours of sleep that night. But afterwards, I realized how scary that was, and how scary it really could have got. I was just so happy to even be alive. So at that point, I was like, Mom, what do I do? She was like, Jesus is always going to be there for you, even if I'm not there. So later on, a couple days later, I just kept thinking of that. And I was just I tried to take my own life without people knowing that I was trying to take my own life. So I was like, let me give Jesus a try again. And after I did that, my life literally transformed from the time I asked my mom how to accept Jesus into my life to me going to church, actually going to church, not just sitting there, just checking off the box. I went to church, me going to church and crying at the altar and realizing how broken I truly was. I think that's what's the main thing about it.
Well, that was a lot. I'm sorry. I want to go back to one of the first things that you said, that you kind of just said pretty nonchalantly, but your sister took her own life when you were in high school. What happened there?
I was going into my freshman year, and it was on my birthday. And my parents weren't at home, and I just thought that they were just getting cake and everything. So I'm the youngest in the family. She's in the middle, but I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me, so he was at home with me during this time. And I went to go work out, and I came back, and my sister was at home, but my parents weren't at home, and all my siblings were at home. Most of my siblings were at home, at least. And my parents weren't home, and I was like, what is going on here? Is it surprise party happening? And I remember posting a picture on Snapchat, and it was me literally just getting ready. It's little teenage Joy just getting ready for her birthday. And a girl slid up on my story, and she was like, I hope you have the best birthday, and I'm so sorry for your loss. And I was like, what the heck is she talking about? I didn't lose anything. And I looked at my brother, and I was like, did somebody die? And he was like, no, not that I know of. And maybe 30, 40 minutes later, I'm still getting ready because I'm we're going to go to lunch as a family. That's usually what we always do. And I hear my parents come into the house, and my dad is crying his eyes out, screaming. And I've never heard my dad cry, ever. And I was like, dang, I wonder what's going on here. So my mom, she sits me down, and my aunt's there, and she's like, hey, your sister passed away. And I was like, okay, but how? And she was like, well, she hung herself. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, that doesn't sound about right. Because that sister in particular, she was the only sister who, showed up and, kind of cared. So I was like, she wouldn't do that. There's no way. And my parents were like, yeah, it happened. And I think after that day, I was still young at the time, so I guess it was just hard for me to fathom. I was just yeah, my sister's dead, okay. But I think as time went on, I was just she actually is gone. And I think that's another part that I thought about, because after years now, when I'm actually saved and I know Jesus, I think afterwards it even kind of resonated with me more, because I was like, if only she knew Jesus, I would still think that she would still be here today. And I think that that's something that the enemy uses right now in the day and age, sadly. And it's so sad because people end up taking their lives, and they don't realize how much they mean to people and everything. But Yeah.
What was your relationship with her like?
She would basically like I said, my dad's a preacher, and my mom, she's a school admin. So both of my parents would be relatively busy like throughout weeks. She would like pick me up from school. She would never miss like any of my like games or anything. Like before I ran track, I attempted to do like basketball and things like that, and she would like always encourage me about it. And she was just very protective of me because she didn't have the best life. She was on drugs. She did like a lot of different things, but I can like proudly say that she knew that it was wrong, and she would always tell me. And she would never, when I mean like never, she never had it around me, like ever. She never did it around me. And if I ever like had to stay over her house, she would basically like tell the people that she used to do drugs with, she was like, no, like you can't come today, like my sister's sleeping over. And like she would like, I promise you, I don't even think I realized she was on drugs until my parents told me. And then they're like, by the way, this is happening. And I was like, wow. But she was just very protective, and she also like helped me try new things. Like she put me into dance. She like put me in like a Juneteenth parade, and she was like one of the first people I saw like at the very beginning, like with her phone, and then after I finished, like she was there waiting for me. But she was just very protective, and she was always like literally always showed up, like despite anything. But I think it was because I was so young. Like I said, I'm the youngest, and my parents are like, when my mom had me when she was like 40 something, like my parents are a little bit older, so all my siblings are like in their 40s right now, and I'm literally 21. So it was definitely an age gap, but even with that age gap, we literally like did everything. She took me shopping, she took me like, it was like as if we were literally the same age basically. But I never knew that she was like battling all these things until like my parents told me, like a couple maybe after she passed, they were like, yeah, like dad's been taking her to like different type of homes, and like my dad like tried his very best, and I can like confidently say that he would put her into rehab, he would put her into all these like institutions, because I guess she's tried to take her life and overdose a couple times actually. But my dad never really told me about it for a while, but he definitely like did his best, and he would pick her up, help her, try to get clean off of stuff like the best he could. But I guess that last time he just wasn't there at the moment.
You're 15 years old when this happens. Like, how did that impact your high school experience?
Honestly, off rip, she's someone who told me to do cheer. Like, she's like, you should just try it. She's like, you never know if you're going to be good at it till you try it. So I try it for cheer, and I basically make the JV squad off like rip. So we're in our summer training, and I basically disappear because my sister just committed suicide, and like I can't do anything. And I think during that time, it was just really hard for me to fathom. But like my coaching, like the coaches that I had, and like all my friends at the time, they were just all like very supportive. And not to mention, I don't think anybody's dealt with that. I'm from College Station, and obviously it was all over the news and everything in my town, but it was just very rare at the time. So nobody really knew how to approach me basically, especially when like most people are like, yeah, my grandparents died, they were on like a machine, but like we can't really relate to anything because like my sister took a life. She didn't like, she just did it herself. So it made things a little bit uneasy sometimes. But I think for during the high school time, I was just doing so much to the point where I didn't really think about it as much. Like I seriously kept myself so busy. And I think the one time I thought about it, and every time I thought about it, I would cry. So like I had moments, and I would go to like I said, my mom was a site admin, so she basically was all over the schools. So every principal already knew and everything. So basically I would like go to my principal's office, go to my assistant principal's office. I'd be like, hey, not really feeling it. I could stay in there all day. But I think the main part was like graduation, when all my siblings came back and we took like a group picture, and I was just like, dang, like this kind of, like it wasn't like weird, but it was just like, well, that's that. Like I'm missing one. But especially when it came to like introductions, like for college, I could be like, yeah, I have 9 siblings. One of them's dead, but like I have 9 siblings, and like that alone like would just like, I honestly don't really tell people about it. Honestly, I try to still keep it under the rug today. Honestly.
Why?
I think mainly Well, recently I actually started sharing it a lot. Like when I went to Costa Rica for my mission trip, I shared it with my roommate, and it actually helped her a lot because she was going through something like that as well. But I think mainly it's because people, like I said, they don't really know how to address it. You know what I mean? Like it's common now, like to be like depressed and to have suicidal thoughts, to have anxiety, but usually people don't really get to that level to where they take their life. So I think it's hard when you're like, yeah, like I struggle with this and like my sister struggled with this, but like my sister actually died. So then I think people are always just like, I am so sorry. Like nobody really knows how to be there for you in that moment, minus the people that are already there with you. So like my parents, my other siblings, because I have so many that like I could still talk to them every single day about it and get like different point of views every single day. And they're all older than me, which helps a whole bunch. So, but I usually just only talk to my family about it. That's about it. I mean, I told my fiance early on, I was like, my birthday's a little rocky every now and then, depending, since it was like my birthday and she killed herself. So it's kind of like a little cross action, like, oh my goodness, I just turned 21. Oh my goodness, my sister's been dead for like going on 6 years. So it's like kind of hard for me to balance it between the two.
Yeah. When you were going through your really dark season of depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, did your emotions towards her resurface a lot?
Yeah. I think that's another thing that just like, honestly, it's at the back of my mind. Was it at the forefront of my mind? Because I was always like just thinking like, oh, I shouldn't be here type thing. But at the back of my mind, I was just thinking like, I would like revisit that area of like when I was like at home and I heard my dad like crying. And I was like at home and my mom and my aunt had to sit me down. And before I was like, when all my siblings literally like my aunt and my grandma had drove down from like Austin and they got there, like I'm talking maybe as soon as my dad was opening a door, like basically all the family friends and everyone were there. So I think that's something that played in the back of my head a lot, because I was like, even though I was, well, not me telling myself, even though the enemy was telling myself that like you don't need this right now, I still had that little bit thought. I was like, not only do I not want to, I couldn't hurt myself even if I wanted to, honestly. So I didn't even know how I was going to do it to begin with. But I was just like, I don't want to put my family through something like that all over again. So honestly, I think that's something that really kept me like a little bit grounded, because it was just so like traumatizing and like everything. So I was like, I don't want to do this to them. I don't want to do it to myself. But the voices were just so loud and it like fully convinced me that I was just like, it just might be worth it. I mean, after all, like you're not going to be here to see it anyway. So like, would it really matter type thing? So like, it was like stuff like that, like all the time.
You said you got on medicine. Before you got on medicine, what were some of the ways that you try to navigate feeling the depression and the anxiety?
Honestly, if I wasn't like at practice, I would like try to go out to parties all the time. I would like try to meet new people. It's like, maybe if I just have like a whole bunch of friends, and maybe if I just go out like all the time on the weekends, because like I said, I tried to keep myself busy, and I was only busy Monday through Friday. So after Friday, I was like, I can't be in bed. Like I can't lay here for too long. Like I can't do this. So I would go probably get into like any and everything possible, not drugs or alcohol, things like that, but definitely not drugs, but other things I would basically try to get into and just like run around and navigate as much as I could. So I would just like go to parties. I would honestly be out like so late at night, to the point where it's like when I got home, I would actually be so tired. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But I knew things that I shouldn't get into, obviously, because like my sister played a big role in like a lot of things, because I was like, she was someone who told me that drugs were bad and she did drugs. So like that's still something that I stand on today. I'm like, I always tell people like, even if it's a cigarette, I'm like, please put it down. Like there's no need for that. From that to like anything to the worst thing, I'm always telling people like it's not good for you. Same thing for like drinking. Like I don't drink. I don't do anything like that, just because I seen what happened to my sister. So it kind of like really built that wall up to where I definitely don't want to do anything like that ever.
Yeah. It sounds like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you didn't want to sit in those feelings, and so you wanted to fill your schedule with things that could distract you.
All the time. If it wasn't like me going, like if I couldn't find, or if I didn't want to be here, I would just like go home, and I had my at-home friends and everything, and like all these people were great, except all these people were also like leading me down the path to destruction that I was just going through, like living through on a daily basis, and had no clue that I was digging my own hole the whole time.
What was or is so scary about just sitting and feeling?
I think it's the part that, like, I would just have to relive the feelings again, and like over and over and over again. It's a lot better now, to the point where it's like I could talk about it. It's like freeing, but I think that that's mainly because I've been like healed from a lot of that trauma. But I think during that time, I like could not, like, I wouldn't be able to like tell anyone. Like, I don't think I told one of my close friends last year that my sister passed away, and she was looking at me. She was like, "We've been friends for like 3 years, and we've been on a team with each other for 3 years, and like you've never told me this." And I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "I didn't really think people just want to know this." And she was like, "Well, that's like kind of important." And I think that's when I realized that I was like, maybe I should tell people more often. So when I gave my testimony at FCA, that was like off rip the first thing I said, and it was kind of scary because I was like, oh, no, everybody knows my business. Well, that's great, but it was just like, it's such a core thing in my testimony as a whole, so I kind of had to rip the Band-Aid off. And I think the more I talk about it with other people, the more I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah. When you say you have to relive it when you sit and feel, what are your thoughts towards it? Do you think this is something that you will like always have to relive, or do you think it's something that like, I guess, let me rephrase it. When I hear you saying like I don't want to relive it, I hear like almost as if there's a pain that you're experiencing every single time. And so the question is, do you think that there will be a point where it isn't as painful?
Yeah, I think that obviously with time and just like a lot of prayer has helped a lot during that time. I think the main pain of the reliving was just like me, like, obviously, like, the only part that I still like struggle with grasping is just that like she seriously is dead. There's nothing I can do about it. And I think that's the like craziest part about it, because I'm like, she's gonna miss like 15 years of my life. Is like maybe like a little nickel of like a full 100 years. So I think that's the hardest part. But usually sometimes when I like sit and think about it, it's never like, it's usually just like tears like this. Like, it's never really like having an anxiety attack anymore. Like, it's not bad things. It's just like, as you said, it's just like me like just sitting there and be like, well, I have the right to be sad. Yeah. I have the right to like grieve and everything. And that's something else that I've been like learning and like focusing on with the Lord, because I just realized how like sweet he is in those times and areas.
What is a moment that you can think of where God has really shown up and been sweet in those moments of grief?
I think, honestly, like this following year, or this year as a whole, this like suicide prevention month, which was, are we in October? It was last month. I just took the time to like kind of tell people. And then when I would like tell people like, you know, like this is like a serious thing, like it's the one like thing that I advocate for like all the time. Like, I always tell my friends, I tell like basically any and everyone, I'm like, if you ever have like suicidal thoughts, anxiety, depression, and things like that, like call me, text me, like honestly, as soon as you can reach me, I'll probably answer. And a way that I've seen him show up is that when I gave my testimony that one time, so many people afterwards were like telling me that they were like basically going through the same things. And I think that's what made it like even more like worth, because I was just like, wow, like I was so scared to like tell people that not only did my sister commit suicide, but I was on the verge too. And I was like this close to, but I had like a praying mother and a praying father that were like fasting and interceding on my behalf, to the point where I'm still here to tell it. So it's like, I gave that testimony last year, literally like 2 weeks ago, my teammate's asking for coffee and stuff, and she's asking me questions because she's experienced things. And like literally like maybe like a month ago, one of my other friends, she was like, hey, like I'm about to go talk to this girl. She's experiencing like depression and suicide and things like that. Like, how do you think I should handle that? And like other people reaching out, because now suicide is like a little bit more heavy now. Like more sadly, more people are committing it. Like one of my other friends could be like, hey, my friend's best friend just committed suicide. Like, how do I be there for him? And like after I realized that I'm basically like a little outlet, because like although it's very odd, although it's very like rare, I'm able to like help so many people just by that like aspect of my life of having it. So that's where I've seen him show up a lot, and it's mainly through other people because I just sit and listen, and then I like let them talk because they already know about me. You already know everything. So I think that's like the main thing that I've seen them at, and that it just keeps going in that aspect. So with me advocating and telling people about suicide prevention and like how to cope and how there's so many other ways you could like go around this. There's so many other things you could do. There's so many other like things, even if you do want to get on the medicine, even if you don't, like it's all up to you. I could tell them my experience with the medicine. I'll be like, yeah, I took a whole bunch and it still didn't help. So the only thing that did help was Jesus. And now I haven't been on the medicine for almost 2 years now because now I'm about to graduate. So I think that's the main factor, I think.
What are some of the thoughts that would regularly repeat when you started to experience that like really heavy anxiety?
The first one was always just that basically, and it was like, it's crazy because I never thought that I would like hear things in my mind, but it would just be so, and I'm talking like very loud, like very at the front, and it would just be like, yeah, I'm like, you don't have to be here. Like, you're not really that needed. Like, and the key like phrase will always be like, do you really think people would know if you were gone? Like, would people realize it? And I think the more that I thought about that, the louder the voice would get, one, but two, the more I thought about it, the more I was like second guessing my own self. And I was like, well, no, like this person cares about me. And then if I said that in my mind, they'll be like, do they? Didn't they just do this to you like 2 days ago? Like, and it's so crazy to think about because although like I would be kind to everyone, like it's like I would never blame the person, but if one person did, like I'm talking any micro thing, it would literally just like get stored in my head and it would be used against me in my own way. And that's the like crazy part about it. It could be like if you didn't give me a high five when I walked in, he would like basically my mind would just switch it and be like, I think he hates you. I think that's kind of crazy. Like he gave this person a high five. He was more happy with this person. Why wouldn't he be happy with you? So it was just like kind of crazy how that voice would just like literally twist like any and everything to the point where it would lead me into an anxiety attack. Because now I'm like, well, dang, like, did I do this wrong? Did I do this wrong? Like, where did I mess up? What did I do that made them like think this way? Instead of just being like, you can't control that. I would nit and pick and listen and like try to be like, well, no, because if I do this, then maybe this will happen. So those are the main things. And it was just honestly just like a endless puzzle of equations that I was never going to get anywhere with at the end of the day.
You said medicine didn't help. You said Jesus is the only thing that has helped you. Like, what did that look like for you?
It looked like, so after I realized that, I was with my mom, I think, and she had told me that some like really bad news, and I think I reacted, and I was just like, oh. And she was like, okay. Do you like have anything to say? I was like, not really. And I think that's one of the moments like, and I started realizing it a little bit more frequently when like bad things would happen to me or when bad things happen to other people. I didn't like, the way I would put it was just that I was just like so numb and still that like, because I was taking it so much. Like I think I got upped twice, I think. And I don't know how many doses I was on, but I would just take it. And not only that, but like I wouldn't eat half of the time. So that also wasn't a good thing that was happening because it didn't make me hungry. So I was doing that and basically being numb to basically every feeling and emotion. Like I don't think I cried that whole time of me being like on that medicine, which at that time was like, that was the main thing. I didn't want to really feel and show emotions. I didn't really want to sit in my thoughts. So at the time, I was like, it's completely normal. But then as I started thinking about it one time, and I was just like, yeah, I haven't cried in a very long time. And I think I told my fiance about it. And I was like, haven't cried in maybe like 8 months. I was, that's a really long time, especially for someone that's me that cries all the time now. But after I realized that, I basically started to limit myself. And I was like, okay, only take the medicine if you are super, I'm talking like super anxious, like off rip. Like I have to be like super anxious. So then I started down from every day to like 3 times a week. And after that, I did that for a while and I started feeling a little bit more. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try a little bit more. So then I went back a little bit more. So now I was doing 2 times a week. And then it got to the point where I didn't take it, but I still had the medicine in my cabinet just in case. It was always going to be in my cabinet, like just in case. So I stopped taking the medicine, which is when everything started coming down. And when I started hearing these voices even louder, when I stopped taking the medicine. So then I was like, I don't think I really want to deal with that. So maybe I should start taking medicine again. But after I gave my life to Christ and everything, and I realized how beautiful and silent my mind could be, like in his presence, I think that's what made the difference. Because from like me having like so loud, like rambunctious thoughts, like I'm talking spinning off of wheels, to like me like having an altar calling me, just like sitting there. Not only was I embarrassed at the time because I was like, I don't know if this is how it's supposed to be, but since I literally just went and did it, I kid you not, after that exact moment, my mind had never been that quiet before. And it wasn't like a awkward quiet, it was just like a, and I was just like, what is this? Like, what is happening here? What's happening? And then after I told my mom about it, she was like, well, that's Jesus, and he definitely wants to meet you and like dwell in you and like follow him. And I think the main part about that was just like realizing that me knowing Jesus was not the same thing as following Jesus, because I knew him my whole life. My parents are preachers, knew him my whole entire life. I knew all the Bible stories, knew all the things. But I didn't know that I needed Jesus until I needed him in that moment. And I think that was the main part that really like set it apart, when I realized like, oh my goodness, like this is like real life. Like I can like call on him and then he can just make it all stop. So I think after that is really when like that time kicked off, like right during that altar call. And I was like, I have to give my life to Jesus. So I gave it to him like that exact day, because I was like, if he can do this, he can do basically anything else. That's all I know. So after that, I just followed him forever, basically.
What does your relationship look like with him over the last, how long has it been now?
It's been, this upcoming December should be 2 years of like fully following him. Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, it's been really perfect and good. And like, I say perfect in the sense of like, because he's there, but like good because he's also there. You know what I mean? Like, he's very compassionate. He's so loving. And I think once I actually got into his word and actually figured out who Jesus was, and not like listening to other people's way of how they explain who Jesus was, because some, you know, preachers do it in a great way, but then you have other people that are like, I don't really know about that Jesus thing. So I took it on long to myself to basically read the whole, like after I gave my life to Christ, I went to Barnes & Noble that same day, and I got a Bible, and it was a study Bible, and I was like, Mom, my mom came with me, and she was so happy, and I was like, I'm going to read this whole entire Bible from like cover to cover, and that whole year, I read the whole Bible from top to bottom, Genesis all the way to Revelation, because I wanted to know who he was, I wanted to know what he did, I wanted to like truly study his word, and I think once I did that, it just opened my mind and my eyes to like everything that he did that I just never paid attention to. Like, he was healing the blind, and like I was the blind, and he healed me, and I was able to like actually see his word and like see how fruitful and how powerful it was. So after I did that, he changed my whole like perspective. I'm talking like a whole 360 moment, to the point where I no longer wanted to serve myself, but I wanted to serve others. I didn't want other people to feel a certain way about, like, I didn't want people to sit in their feelings like how I did, so I would help them. And I grew so much, I think, in compassion, and I think that's a trait that I love so much now, that I realize that like I have that. It's because it's so like fruitful and it's so beautiful to have that. And I started working with kids like a lot more. I always worked with kids, but now I started working with kids in like lower income areas. I worked for a nonprofit as soon as I got back. Like literally that when I got baptized, I applied for a job, a Christian job, because I was like, I can't be anywhere where Jesus is not there. Because if I'm not there, if he's not there, I don't want to be there because I don't know what's gonna get thrown at me, and I don't really want to battle that type. So I ended up working for a Christian nonprofit. I recently went on a mission trip, like literally like a couple months ago, and I just basically just started following him, and like wherever he told me to go, I would rush there as soon as possible. If like as soon as I got baptized, I was driving to College Station, I think every Sunday, because that church is that church is the place I got saved at. So I was like, I'm gonna go there. So for like months, I would just drive back home until I found my church here. But I was literally just like driving back home, because I was just like, I have to keep going. I have to like, I want to know him. I would watch it online. I'm listening to podcasts. The way my mom would put it is she says that Jesus will heal you and save you to the point where it's like you don't want to touch and taste of that, like anything else that you had in your mouth before. It was like it leaves like a nasty taste. So like now when I partying, can't do it. Hanging out with people that are already leading down to the path of destruction, can't do it. I can love them from a distance, but I can't sit with people. And I think that's where the Holy Spirit definitely comes into play, because I never been so alert with like things of the spirit, and he's opened my eyes to like actual spiritual warfare, like trials and tribulations, like everything. Like my whole almost 2-year process alone has showed me like so much of like, yeah, it's a little rocky, but I'm human, and he also told me that it was going to be like this, so why would I be surprised and things like that. But it's been really good, and honestly, I'm like so happy that I met him when I did, because I feel like I basically just have a new life. Like I'm only like 2 years old. So I'm basically just have a whole new life where I can do life again, but this time with him, and like know that he's like there. The like 110% confident that he's like there and he would never leave me.
One of the things I've noticed about your story that's really fascinating to me is the fact that your name is Joy.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that being your name, and tying that in with your story?
Honestly, not really. I think I haven't really thought about tying it into my story, honestly, not that much. I think how we said it's like kind of crazy that like my name is Joy and I had all these things happen to me, but I don't know. My mom, the reason I'm named Joy is because my mom, actually, this is so crazy that it's like literally like a two-way street, but basically my mom prayed and fasted because she was old and she wasn't supposed to give birth. She prayed and fasted for another child. She was like, Jesus, if you give me a child, I'll give her back to you. Here's Joy. She almost died giving birth, one, because she was hemorrhaging, so she was not supposed to be here either. I was just supposed to be me and my dad, basically, but my mom had a praying husband and a praying family, so she's alive, and she had me. So she dedicated me back to the Lord, obviously, and I was in the house of the Lord with them until I got to college. And it's crazy because during that time, like in my story where I was hearing all these voices and like all these things were super loud, and I called my mom. My mom was already up, and it's 3 a.m. And she was praying, fasting, and interceding because she felt that something was happening to me. So during that time, she's answering the phone so quickly, and she's like, hello? And I'm like, yeah, so this is happening. Like, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you, but I also did this, and this, and like I've been struggling with this, like trauma dumping her. And she's like praying with me, and she's telling me like the truth will set you free. She was like, you have to say what you did. You have to tell yourself. You have to like say it out loud. She's like, if you don't want to say it to anyone, at least say it to yourself, because if you're going to keep it in your head, it's just going to stay there. So she went from that to me basically giving my life to Christ. To me, that same Sunday, she's literally always up in the morning. She was making breakfast, and she was praying and fasting again on a Sunday. The Sunday that I got saved, she was praying to the Lord. She was like, I just pray that one day all of my children will have a revelation, have a relationship with you. And I kid you not, 12 p.m. on the dot, I come home and I'm like, hey mom, I just gave my life to Christ. And she's like so ecstatic. And she said that the Lord told her to name me Joy. And I think now that I like walk with Christ and everything, I can like fully say that like I am Joy now. I was named Joy then, but like I definitely am Joy, and I always tell people that the joy that, like, my mom tells me every single day, she's like, the joy of the Lord is your strength every single time, and I'm like, you're so right. Like, why am I struggling and like thinking about this? Like, you're so right. So that's, I think I probably should tie it into it, honestly, because it's just, he knitted it all perfectly together, all in one harmony, to where it all like bleeds into one another, to the point where I can actually be Joy now without like no problem.
What would be your encouragement to someone out there who is hearing those thoughts of, hey, like, nobody really would miss you, you don't really belong, all of those things? How would you encourage them? What would you say to them?
I would say this because I wish I knew sooner how powerful his name was, but I never truly knew how much the name of Jesus would like silence everything. And I say that now because even if I have like a slight thought, I'm so quick to just be like, that's not what Jesus calls me. Because since I know, like, even if they don't know the word, if you know one thing and if it's his name, that's enough. Like, that's literally like enough to cast out all demons, all spirits that are not the Holy Spirit. So in those times, like, if you don't know the word, I would just literally just be like, I rebuke that name of Jesus, and I would like tell it to stop, because I never knew that that's how it worked. So it was just me getting beat up half of the time until I realized that like I literally have the same power and authority that raised Jesus from the dead. It literally lives inside me, and I'm over here just like letting myself get beat up and trampled, when the whole trick and key was literally just Jesus. Like, literally the whole missing piece was literally just him. So when I experience those things, and I say the blood of Jesus a whole bunch of times, or if I'm saying like, that's not true, I'm beautifully and wonderfully made, that's not true, I'm worth more than rubies, that's not true, he said that he handcrafted me, my mother's, like, all these beautiful things I tell myself instead of those things, that's what I would do. And now, since I've been doing it for so long, I haven't heard those thoughts in years, a year probably, which is so crazy to think about. Because like now, what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, I wonder what I'm going to do in kids ministry this week. I wonder what this verse means. Like, let me go deep dive on the web. Like, I'm thinking of like him now, because they don't have any dominion or authority over someone who's saved in Christ anyway. So I feel like once you know that, you literally already won. And he already beat it anyway. Like, it's Jesus we're talking about. Like, he already did everything.
What is your hope for your generation?
I seriously hope that my generation would be the generation of just like a true revival. And I say that because I know that like I know that my generation struggles with like anxiety, depression, loss of hope, comparison, like all these things, like pride, like all these horrible, horrible things that are totally opposite of what Jesus has called each and every one of us to do. But I also see that, just like me, how in the bottom of a hole, losing hope, that he's coming and like grabbing one of us all one by one. And I think that's the most important part, because if my story of me going through all those things is helping that one person, that like literally all of heaven is rejoicing, and then it just keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. And I feel like now more than ever, I've seen just so many people even asking questions, and I count that question as just enough. Like, if you can go from not knowing the Lord to asking a question of like, well, how did he do that? That's enough for me. That's you have that little bitty mustard seed light up in there, and it's gonna take over your whole body, whether you like it or not. And I think that's something that I'm just so excited to see this generation just like truly run after the Lord, because I see it happening, and I know it's gonna happen. And it's because like we just live in such a dark era of time right now. And I think that aspect of like Jesus and light is going to be the only thing that people can cling on to, because they're going to realize that you can't do anything by yourself. You can't satisfy yourself. You can't run that race by yourself. You can't do literally anything by yourself. And if you do, you're going to end up probably in a bad place. So I think that our generation is truly going to have like just a full revival surface across the board. And then it's going to bleed into other ones, and then other generations to come.
I love that. Joy, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, being bold, and I'm excited to see how God continues to use you.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on this video. The heart behind God's stories is to let people know they're not alone. And if you want to help support that message, click the link in the description.